The biggest misconception about getting abs that we must address first of all is the notion that you can turn belly fat into muscle. You'll find countless videos on YouTube, for instance, promoting only crunches for a slimmer stomach. But fat and muscle are made from different substances, and to think you could do this would be like thinking you can turn copper into gold. Instead of having one or the other, in the midsection you have both, with subcutaneous fat stores overlaying the muscle stores. In other words, the abs are always there, even in those overweight, just hidden in that case. Accordingly, the more you reduce the fat line over your abs, the more they'll become apparent, which is why we hear so much about the importance of lowering your body fat percentage when it comes to them. However, what exactly is body fat percentage? How is it tracked? And what is the best way to go about lowering it? Is working the abs alone enough to get the best core physique? Why do some skinny guys then not have abs if a low body fat percentage is so important? And why do some people only get a 2-pack while others can get an 8-pack? Well, today we'll be answering all of these questions. But first, as always, please take note of our disclaimer. Body fat percentage is the percentage of your fat's weight versus the percentage of the weight of your bones, muscle, blood and organs. Your fat versus everything else basically. Tracking body fat percentage is best to use when aiming for abs because it can differentiate fat from muscle instead of, say, the weighing scale, which only checks weight in its entirety. This image shows two things. The first are examples of what different body fat percentages look like within the same sex. And the second is the difference in body fat percentage between sexes. For instance, a woman with an athletic-looking physique may have a body fat percentage of less than 14%, while for a man it could be less than 8%. This difference concerns women needing higher essential fat levels in anticipation of possible future pregnancies. Don't worry though, you won't have to get down that far for the abs to start to show. As a rule of thumb, for men, we generally need to get below 10% body fat for this, while for women, under about 18%. There are a couple of ways to track your body fat percentage as seen here. If you'd like to find out which one may be best for you, check out our video in the top right hand corner of the screen, where we go deeper into each one's pros and cons. Moreover, you may then ask, but if getting down to a low body fat percentage is essential to see the core muscles, why can't you see them on many skinny people? Well, one reason for this, in part, is that just because someone is skinny doesn't mean they necessarily have low body fat. This might sound conflicting, but people will often be referred to as skinny because they have low muscle development rather than low body fat. So you might think a skinny guy is below 10% body fat for the abs to be showing, when actually he's at maybe 18%. Moving forward, what is the best way of reducing our body fat percentage? Well, first and foremost, a caloric deficit is necessary, meaning intaking fewer calories than you're burning each day. Normally, for people looking to lose strictly body fat, it's recommended to have a caloric deficit between 500 and 700 calories below your maintenance calories. So, if your maintenance calories were 2000, you should consume between 1300 and 1500 calories daily. But keep in mind this value won't be the same for everyone. I'll leave a link to calculate your maintenance calories in the description of this video. On the other hand, when looking to reduce fat while holding on to as much muscle line underneath as you can, which you'll most likely be doing if you're looking to improve your physique, it's advised to have around a 300 to 400 caloric deficit. This is what these calories should be made up of overall. A common mistake by many that we should point out though, is that they'll only decide to start training their core when they begin lowering their body fat through a cutting phase. For maximal development, you want to train them even in your bulking phase, since core muscles largely grow like any other muscle from a calorie and nutrition standpoint. Okay, now we know how to start seeing your abs, let's move on to our next question. Is working the abs alone enough for the best visual outcomes in the midsection? To answer this, we need to discuss some anatomy in the region. When most people think of the core, they're really just thinking of one part of it, the rectus abdominis, or by its abbreviation you're probably more familiar with, the abs. This muscle stems from the bottom of your front ribs and descends to the front of your pelvis. So since the muscle is front and center on the body, and is what gives rise to the celebrated six-pack, that's why it remains the focus of many. But other core muscles are equally important for your functional health that improve the appearance of your physique even further. In order from superficial depth, the core muscles include the abs, the external obliques, the internal obliques, and the transversus abdominis. In contrast to the abs, these muscles are more so on the outskirts of your core, as you can see here. Indeed, the internal obliques aren't visible to the naked eye since it's located directly underneath the external obliques, hence internal and external. Still, they're essential for optimal functional health, like the other core muscles. So, how can working on the obliques and the transversus abdominis, in addition to the abs, improve the appearance of your midsection? Well, partially it's because these are the muscles relating to the famed V-line in the lower torso, which gives the core a V shape, making the waist appear slimmer, and contributes to the overall V taper of the body. The V-line itself is actually not made from muscles, but ligaments, the inguinal ligaments to be exact. But since some borders of the external obliques and the transversus abdominis meet at this line, the more you work out these muscles, the more noticeable the V-line is. On a side note, if you are interested in undertaking our evidence-based and results-backed personalized Plato weight management program, please click the link in the top right-hand corner of the video or follow the link in the description. Next, while we're on anatomy, let's discuss our next question. Why do some people only get a 2-pack while others can get an 8-pack? Well, rather than this being a consequence of different levels of motivation when it comes to diet and exercise, it's merely down to differences in people's anatomies. Everyone has a vertical tendinous segment in the rectus abdominis known as the linea alba, dividing it into two vertical sides. But there are also horizontal tendinous segments, further breaking the muscle down into more parts that do change depending on someone's genetics. Those with 2 bands of horizontal tendinous segments can get a 4-pack, those with 3 bands can get a 6-pack, and those with 4 bands can get an 8-pack. Anson and McVeigh suggest that having 3 bands is the most common among the population, with an estimated prevalence of 58%, which is why in all likelihood the 6-pack is almost synonymous with the abs. In contrast, those with 2 and 4 bands represent 6% and 35% of the population respectively. Further, the researchers even found that around 1% of the population evaluated had 1 horizontal tendinous band, meaning a 2-pack. Finally, let's look at an example of a good core exercise regimen. Since there's 3 core sections, mostly differing in their functions, we want to do exercises targeting each of them. Therefore, we recommend doing 3 separate exercises for each core region, meaning 9 exercises in total with 1 set each. Regarding reps, aim for 10 to 15 per exercise. Breaks are allowed to rest and stretch your abs, just limit them to between muscle group exercises. So do 3 exercises for the rectus abdominis, take a 30-second break, do 3 exercises for the obliques, and so forth. You'll often hear of people training abs day in, day out, but this can actually be overkill as we do need to give the muscles time to recover. Accordingly, we suggest doing your ab workout about 3 days per week, with a rest day in between each. We'll leave a link to a great ab workout in the description below. Is there anything else you think that we left out worth mentioning? We'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. So, that has been our video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.